see there. Winnie. This is Grandma.
Why aren't we listening to the kids' story?
You see us? We are next to right below. I need to put down her name, rename. 여기가
All right, so I think we can go ahead and get started. Looks like there's a good amount of folks here. So hi everyone, I'm Songvi. I'm part of staff at Eastwind Books and I will be your host today. So thank you so much for joining us. We're so excited to have you here with two very special authors with us today. So a little bit about Eastwind Books. Eastwind Books is an Asian American and ethnic studies focused bookstore based in downtown Berkeley. We've been around for a little over 30 years, so we hope to keep sticking around and being a resource for our community and for everything the Asian American community needs and wants to learn and read about. So we are also partnering for this event with the OACC, the Oakland Asian Cultural Center. And we have Akemi here who will do a little introduction about the OACC. So Akemi, go ahead.
All right. Hello, everyone. Hope you're having a nice, warm weekend wherever you are. My name is Akemi Chanimai, and I'm the programs manager at the Oakland Asian Cultural Center. And while we've been doing virtual events, in case you're not familiar with where we're located, our facility is right in the middle of Oakland Chinatown neighborhood. So we're lucky to be surrounded by a lot of amazing food, amazing businesses and vendors, and we just cannot wait to get back into our space and have our future story times with Eastwind in person again. A little bit about OACC's mission is that with our programs and activities, we really want to build vibrant communities through lifting up API arts and cultural programs that foster intergenerational and cross-cultural dialogue, understanding, collaboration, and social justice. That's just a little bit about what we do, but we hope that if you're interested, our website is www.oacc.cc, and I'll put that in the chat box as well if you want to learn more about what we do. And now I'll throw it back to Songvi.
Awesome. Thanks, Akemi. So we'll go ahead and get started. I know everyone's here for the story time. So just to run through our program format today, so you all know, we'll start with our authors doing a little bit of reading from their books, and then we'll have some time for a little question and answer session where you can all interact with our authors. And then for all you kids there, we have some drawing activities too. So if you want to get a pen and some paper or crayons or writing utensils ready, we'll be having some time for that too. All right, so without further ado, I'm so excited to introduce our first author for today, Mượn Thị Văn. She has written Wishes, which she'll be reading from today. Mượn stitches stories by starlight and by daylight. Some of these stories become books, and some of these stories are read around the world. From her New York Times acclaimed debut In a Village by the Sea, illustrated by April Chu, Mượn's books have received many distinctions, including a New York Public Library Best Book, a Kirkus Review's Best Book, and an Irma Black Honor Award. Mượn lives in Northern California with her family. So Mượn, go ahead and take it away.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me here. Thank you, Songvi. And it's just a pleasure to share the stage with Michelle today, whose book is so lovely. I actually have a copy of it, but I don't have it in my hands right now. I would like to just kick it off with reading a few pages from Wishes. Okay. Let's see. The bag wished it was deeper. The light wished it was brighter. The dream wished it was longer. The clock wished it was slower. The path wished it was shorter. The boat wished it was bigger. The sea wished it was calmer. The sun wished it was cooler. The heart wished it was stronger. The home wished it was closer. So that's just an excerpt from the book. And I like to read an excerpt from the author's note now. Let's see. Almost no one knew we were leaving until the moment we left. On the night of our departure, every one of the 22 passengers aboard our boat left behind a child, a spouse, a parent, a grandparent, or a sibling. Some we never saw again, including my grandfather. We left streets and neighborhoods that were as familiar as the lines on our hands. We left customs and traditions that had been handed down for generations. We left communities that had shared in our joys and sorrows. We left our world, pursuing and hoping for a better one. During a weeks-long voyage at sea, we ran out of gas, we ran out of food, and we hit a storm so terrible, it almost ended our journey and our lives. Some of our relatives lost their young children while making the same journey. Fortunately, everyone on our voyage survived, and we even rescued 4 refugees stranded on the island of Hainan. In the waters near Hong Kong, our boat was spotted by the local Coast Guard. We were eventually brought to a refugee camp where we stayed for almost a year before we found asylum and a new home in the United States. More refugees are made every day, not only from local violence and persecution, but increasingly from catastrophic natural disasters and climate change effects. It is not always easy to decide whom to help and when, but I think it is easy to open our hearts and to do what we can when we can. Sometimes that means sharing what we don't need, whether it's food, clothing, or room. Sometimes that means volunteering as a language tutor, a guide, or a driver. Sometimes that means demonstrating to show support and solidarity. And sometimes that means petitioning to change laws and policies. Sometimes doing what we can just means saying hello. I wish only for a safer, kinder, fairer, and a more beautiful world. I hope you'll join me in this wish. Together, we can make it come true. And I think, and now I'd just like to read an excerpt from Victo Ngai, who is the incredible artist behind Wishes. So I'm going to just read a little bit from her artist's note. The narration told through inanimate objects especially affected me. The passivity amplifies the little choices individuals have in times of great change and turmoil. The third-person perspective speaks to the universality of wishing for hope in a sea of helplessness, relatable to anyone who has to leave their home in search for a better life. This is why we decided to include an image on the outer case featuring not only our protagonist, but also refugees from other spaces and times. And that is just a quick reading from Wishes. Thank you so much.
Wow, Wow, thank you, Moon. That was beautiful. Did you all enjoy that? Can we get a thumbs up or a yay for Moon? If you enjoyed her excerpt, yay. Thanks, everyone. I see all your thumbs up and your little claps. All right. I really enjoyed the illustrations and the simple writing of that book. So if you want to learn more or read the rest of the book, that was just an excerpt, you can get a copy from Eastwind Books at asiabookcenter.com. I'll talk a little bit more about how you can get the book a little bit later too. All right, so we'll now move on to Michelle, our next author, who will be reading a little bit from her book. So a little bit about Michelle. She is an author, photographer, and speech language pathologist. She lives in Southern California, where her summers are filled with reading, homemade ice cream, and long golden hours at the park. Ooh, that sounds nice. When Lola Visits is her first picture book. And you can find her online at averyandaugustine.com. We'll leave some links in the chat as well. All right, so here is Michelle.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much to Eastwind Books for hosting this event and Oakland Asian Cultural Center. And I am so happy to be sharing the stage with Mượn Thị Văn. You know, I love your book, and I have a copy too. So this is just such a special story time for me. So this is my first picture book. It's called When Lola Visits. And the words are by me. The art is by Aaron Assis, and he is an illustrator and artist living in the Philippines. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so that you can see the illustrations a little bit better. All right, here we go. Can everyone see that? Yes? Okay, great. So let me just, all right. Okay, so this is the dust jacket of the book. Here's the front cover, and then here's the back cover. This is the spine of the book, kind of like the spine in your back. And then these two yellow rectangles are flaps, and they have a little more information about the book. So this flap has a summary of the story, so what the story is all about. This flap has a little more information about myself and Aaron, the artist. These are the end papers, and they are sometimes solid colored, like white or some other color, but sometimes they have illustrations on them, and those illustrations will give you a clue as to what the story might be about, or some aspect of the story. This is the title page, and here's our title, When Lola Visits. And oftentimes the title page will also have an illustration that gives you a clue about the story. All right, let's begin. How do I know summer is here? Summer smells like stone fruit, ripening on the kitchen counter, and jasmine on the bloom everywhere in the neighborhood. Like my baby brother, finger painting out on the deck, and like trouble brewing on a day of absolutely nothing to do. It smells like mango jam simmering on the stove, the first thing my Lola makes after she flies in for her summer stay. It smells like the sampaguita soap she uses, a scent both familiar and far away. Summer smells like a tumble of dried squid, milk candy, and wooden beads as Lola unzips her old leather suitcase. It smells like cassava cake covered with smooth and glossy custard sliding out of the hot oven as Lola tells us a story about the first time Mom made this cake and confused the sugar with salt. It smells like chlorine from a million swimming lessons at the pool, like blue silence when I'm finally able to float by myself for the first time ever. Summer smells like a freshly opened can of tennis balls to bounce against the side of the house, and gooey sunscreen and salt-soaked swimsuits at the beach. It smells like suman steaming on the stove for afternoon merienda, and tiny red chilies spilling into sizzling sisig as Lola lets me stir, reminding me to scrape the flavorful bits off the bottom of the pan. Summer smells like standing under crisscrosses of tree branches with an apron full of small golden limes. Like calamansi pie and fireworks on the 4th of July. It smells like rolling hundreds of lumpia and mixing together pinches of garlic and sharp vinegar. Like warm banana leaves being laid onto the table for Kamayan. So that's an excerpt from When Lola Visits. I hope everyone enjoyed the story, or that part of the story.
All right, thank you, Michelle. That was awesome. I love all the colors, the bright colors in that book as well. And summer is just around the corner, so that was a perfect selection for this time. All right, how's everyone doing? Good? Anybody need a water break or snack break? Okay, well, we're gonna take a little tiny pause where I'm gonna start and introduce an activity. So if you'd like to grab some paper or pencils or something, now would be a great time. I also have a link from Michelle that I just put in the chat box with a coloring activity. So if anyone would like to take a look at that, it's okay if you can't take a look now, but you can take a look and do some coloring later too. Okay, so we're going to transition to a question and answer session. So if any kids or parents have any questions for our authors, you can raise your hand if you'd like to ask our authors, and I can call you out and you can unmute and ask your question to our authors. Or you can also use the chat box and you can type your question there and I'll read it for our authors for you. So there's 2 ways that you can ask your question if you'd like. Okay, so I'll give you all some time to think of any questions you have. And in the meantime, I think also Mượn has another activity that you can work on as well at this time. So Mượn, if you'd like to introduce your drawing activity, go ahead.
Sure. I have a creative prompt for anyone who is looking for an activity to do. And the prompt is draw or write the story of a journey that you've taken. Did you know where you were going? How did you travel? Were there any surprises along the way? So that's partly inspired by the story in Wishes. And I'm sure some, or maybe all of you, have taken a journey somewhere. And hope it generates some story ideas out there.
Great, thank you, Mượn. So you all can go ahead and get started on that. And in the meantime, if you have any questions too, we can answer those for you.
I have a question for Michelle. Could I ask Michelle a question?
Yeah, of course.
Michelle, was there like one particular, I guess was this story based on your experiences with your grandmother? And is there like one particular memory that you love the most?
That's a great question. Thank you. So the story was inspired by definitely my times with my Lola and, memories with my family growing up. But it was also inspired by, memories with like my current family, my current, kids and husband, and the times that we spend together. And some of the story also has some like hopes for future summers together, things that we might do together. And my favorite part of the story is definitely this scene here where they're picking calamansi from the trees. And then later, Lola uses the calamansi juice to make, her take on the American key lime pie. So I love the scene so much because, well, first of all, I did not grow up with calamansi trees, but my cousin had them at her house. So we did pick them sometimes. But I hope that in the future I will have, a whole yard full of calamansi trees, or at least one big one that will give us a lot of fruit every year. But we did buy 2 little small dwarf ones. So for now, we're enjoying watching those grow. But I also love this scene because it's just such a coming together of cultures, with the like sweet and rich, American like custard pie, together with Filipino and Southeast Asian, calamansi, which is like very just bright and sour and rich in flavor. So that's why I especially love these scenes. Thank you for that question.
Thanks, Michelle. Perfect. I was going to ask a question, but I think Kemi has a question for authors. She says, both of your books have amazing illustrations. How do authors and illustrators work together to create storybooks?
I could speak specifically to Wishes, which is also pretty, I think, standard in the publishing industry. So the editor who acquires the manuscript and takes on the project will usually be the one who ultimately picks the illustrator, along with other members of the, with the publisher. And sometimes they do solicit feedback from the author. So Celia Lee is the incredible editor of Wishes, and she did run some names by me, but is ultimately her choice. And Victo and I worked together with Celia mediating. And for this particular project, I did give Victo some reference materials, just because the story is based on my family's story. And most of the reference materials were just based on verbal interviews, but I tried to find some visual materials as well. And so for this particular project, I had a little bit more input than I usually would have.
For me, it was a similar experience. This is my first picture book, so maybe, every process with every different editor will be slightly different. But yeah, so when I finished my manuscript or my story, my editor took it, and, she and the art director looked for different illustrator, different illustrators that might be able to do the art for the text. And actually, I did have some input. She did ask me for input on some of the options. So we had some discussion back and forth. And we eventually settled on Aaron, because I thought that his art would capture, like the warmth and hospitality of, Filipino culture the best. So thankfully he said yes to the project, because it doesn't always happen. So yeah, and then everything went from there.
It's so cool to hear a little bit behind the scenes about how it works, especially when you have for a children's book, you have an author and you have an illustrator a lot of the time. So awesome. How are we doing with our activities for all those kids out there? Doing okay? Did anyone draw anything or write anything? I see a few kids out there, and I see your paper.
Oh.
Ian and Dante? Yeah. Does anyone want to share what they're working on? Oh, and I see Winnie Yu.
Oh.
Wow. Who is that, Winnie? Is that you? There you are. Or is that one of your grandparents? Awesome. Great. We'll keep working on your beautiful artwork. And if anyone else has any questions, we can get to that too. I have a question for you both. I know there's lots of kinds of books out there. You can, there's fiction and nonfiction and historical writing, but I'm curious about what your inspiration is to write a children's book, to make your story into a book specifically for young people?
Okay, I can add. This is definitely the book this is my 7th book, but this is really the book that inspired me to become a writer, and really compelled me to become a writer. And I thought it was a story that was really worth telling and needed to be told. So I wanted this particular story to be accessible to all ages, and in the format of a picture book, it is accessible to as wide an audience as possible. And on top of that, currently I really just enjoy writing picture books. I really love the combination of like lyricism as well as story, and the visual aspect just brings out a whole different world that sometimes isn't available when it's only words. Yeah.
For me, I actually never set out to become a children's book writer. So when I was younger, I wanted to be a travel writer or a photojournalist. And I have had, some photographs published. But I still hope to do, maybe some of those things later on. But I for a few years now, I've blogged about children's books, kind of ever since my kids have become of reading age. I have taken more of an interest in that. When I was younger, I grew up as an avid reader. And then, when it came time for me to choose a career, I chose to be a speech and language therapist. So that also involves a lot of books. So books have always been in my life. But, I also like reading all these, amazing picture books and, chapter books in middle grade. I knew how hard it was to go down the publishing path, and that, it would never, it's not guaranteed, you can write something, but, it might not ever see the light of day in terms of being published, or, it's hard to find an agent, and then later on to be out on submission and, find an editor who might be interested in your story. So knowing all that, it was the summer of 2018, and I was in my kitchen, and I walked past a bowl of peaches, and they smelled, I could tell they were ripening because they smelled sweeter than the day before. So that bowl of peaches was what inspired the story, what initially inspired the story. And it just made me think about, how there's so many amazing, wonderful smells of summer. And, those smells always tell me that summer is here. Just like when you walk into the supermarket and the air conditioning hits you in the face and, kind of brings up all those different stone fruit smells like peaches, nectarines, cherries, So I thought, could there be a story here? I thought about it, and I was I knew this would be a really hard path, but the main reason why I wanted to write this story was because I wanted it to be about a Filipino American family, because I knew that we didn't have too many books out there that represented us. So that's the reason why I became, a writer of children's books, because I wanted to see more Filipino and more Asian stories out there.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you both for sharing. All right. Does anyone else have any questions? Kids, do you have any questions? Parents and adults have any questions for our authors? Probably have time for one more question, and then I might ask you all to hold up your drawings again so we can see them all. Maybe Erica can help us to see everyone's drawings. Looks like you all are still working hard. Okay, well, if no one has any other questions, then maybe is it okay if we take a group photo. Everyone in the audience comes up. If you don't want to be in the photo, you can turn off your camera and we'll erase your name if we decide to use it anywhere. But if not, then let's see if we can take a photo. Can we see everyone? All right. I think we can see everyone now. Okay, kids, if you want to hold up your drawing so we can see, that would be cool too. You don't have to. Oh, nice. Oh, I see a coloring page from Ian, Dante, and Miles in Alameda.
Okay, are we all
All right,
ready?
ready?
1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. And another one. Yay! That was awesome.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. We hope you all enjoyed our reading and our little activity. If you enjoyed what you saw and heard today, please consider purchasing the books and supporting our authors. You can visit asiabookcenter.com. I think there's a link that was just put into the chat. And we have a special sale for our books today. If you purchase both, there's special sale $16.95 each. But if you purchase both, you can get free shipping on both of them. So I think there'll be more information that'll pop up on the screen soon. Right there, perfect. Okay, yeah. So both Michelle and Mượn's books can be found on asiabookcenter.com. What else? Yes, so please consider purchasing a book. If you'd like to support us, you can also visit our website to donate if you would like to check that out too. So with that, we'd just like to thank everyone for joining us again. We also have a newsletter you can sign up for more events like this one on our website. All right, so thank you both, Mượn and Michelle. We hope to see you next time. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone. Bye.